Hey guys, how you going? It's Peaks here, and today I'm bringing you my first gun review of Battlefield 4, and it is the F2000, as you can see. All the footage that's captured during this clip is using the built-in PS4 capture, and the quality is not great, but I think it's pretty good, and it will do for pretty much what I want to do. It was done over 2 gaming sessions, so don't really expect anything too amazing, but I do go on some pretty good streaks with this. And I was pretty keen to get into it and review this because this was one of my favourite assault rifles from Battlefield 3, and now that it's released with the second assault, I really wanted to see how it would stack up against its Battlefield 3 predecessor. So, first thing I want to talk about is the aesthetics of it, and it looks really cool. As you can see, it's got this cool funky looking custom scope that's unique to the F2000, and when you unlock the gun, it comes standard on it. As I said, it comes with the second assault, and the way that you unlock this is you get 10 kills in Operation Metro, 2 kill assists, which is pretty tricky, because most of the times in games like that, close quarters, you just end up straight up killing your enemies, but if you get early in a big ticket server, like if you just get in straight at the start of the round, just throw a couple of grenades, shoot a couple of noob tubes, and a lot of people just come in after you and clean them up. And thirdly, you just need 1 assault rifle ribbon, which is pretty easy if you're running with the medic class. Yeah, just a couple of kills with it and you end up with it, and that unlocks it. So before we get into the stats, I just want to let you know that this gun is primarily designed for close quarters, not exclusively, but that's its strongest suit. And because of this, I'm going to be comparing it to the other 2 assault rifles which are really good in close quarters, and that's the AEK and the FAMAS. So I'll just bring up the stats from synthetic.com. As you can see, it's got 850 rounds per minute, fire rate, which is pretty good. It's fairly high, it's on the higher end of the scale, not as quick as the AEK, which comes in at 900, which is slightly faster, and a little bit lower as well as the FAMAS, which comes in at 1000. The bullet velocity is 600 meters per second, which is fairly standard for assault rifles, and that's a little bit faster than the AEK as well. So there's kind of pros and cons to using this gun as opposed to other ones. The damage model is standard, which is 25, 10 meters or less, and then it drops out to 18 damage at around 55 meters, I'm pretty sure. Now the short reload of this gun is 2.74, which is pretty long, and only a little bit quicker than the FAMAS. But if you waste all the ammo in your clip and you hit the long reload, it comes up to a whopping 3.9 seconds, which is the longest out of any assault rifles, and that is crazy long. Now in terms of the accuracy, if we look over to the right, you'll see it has a fairly low vertical muzzle climb of 0.24, which is not too bad. It's fairly manageable enough to not need a muzzle brake. But the horizontal pull of the weapon is pretty high, and that's 0.4 pull left and a 0.5 pull right. And that's the stat that you really want to look at, because that reinforces the gun's role as close quarters. The highest recoil stat, which is very, very significant, is its first shot multiplier, which is ×3. And that means if you shoot off like a burst, the first shot in that burst is going to be 3 times stronger when it kicks up than any of the follow-up shots. And because of this, it's going to make it pretty tricky when trying to track a target at medium to long range. So anything that you can do to kind of negate that first shot is pretty paramount when you come up to setting this gun up. Yeah, the side-to-side recoil, while it's not the highest, the fact that it is fairly high on both sides makes it really, really hard to kind of manage at medium to long ranges, because if it was, say, 0.5 right and then slightly lower left, that's pretty easy. Like, you know which way the gun's going to go. Usually when it's got a stronger pull to one side, you know that it's going to pull to either the right or the left, and you can compensate for that. But when they're slightly equal, they're really close together, it makes it really, really difficult to know where your gun's going to go. And as you look over to the far right, it shows you the hipfire accuracy, which is probably the strongest suit of this gun and makes it a very viable weapon when it comes to close quarters. In a recent patch, they redid the hipfire of all the bullpup weapons, which is the rear magazine loading guns, so they all have a hipfire of 2.25, sorry, and that is really accurate for an assault rifle anyway. Now, for the attachments of this gun, you probably, when it comes to attachments, you don't really want to fix problem areas. You want to more focus on the strong suits of the weapon and kind of play to that so you can increase its efficiency and what it does best. But with this weapon, you're going to have to use, well, you won't have to, but I'd strongly advise using a compensator, and that kind of negates some of the side-to-side recoil that has, and an angle forward grip as well, and that will reduce the first shot multiplier. And even though its stats make it a formidable close quarters weapon, it's the reload speed kind of lets it down a lot. My experience is the reload speed, whenever I came into close quarter engagement, sure, I could take out 1 or 2 people fairly easily, but if I hit a reload or I was reloading in the middle, because it's so long, someone can just come around the corner, catch you in the middle of a reload and take you out so quickly, and that happened so often, and it was just so frustrating. And with the fire rate, yeah, it's on the higher end, as I said. 850 is not bad, but if I ran into an opponent who knew what they were doing, if they were using the AEK or the FAMAS, they just wiped me out. It was, yeah. So you'll beat out a lot of people, but at the same time, if you come across someone with those 2 weapons, yeah, if you get into an equal firefight, most times, 9 out of 10, you're going to lose. However, the hipfire, as I said, as it was one of the strongest suits of the weapon, is really handy. If you come around the corner, and someone else comes around the corner, and you both look at each other and you both start to fire, all you need to do is raise your gun up and hit fire, and you can start taking them out, as opposed to them who have to bring their gun up, aim down the sights and look at you. And that gives you a split-second advantage, which is really helpful in close quarters, because when you're in that range, a split second can mean the difference between life or death, really. 2 ways that I would recommend setting this gun up is to play with the strengths, as I said, and that's hipfire and close quarters. So you want to put a laser sight on, and that'll increase the hipfire accuracy further. Put on an ergo grip, I reckon, and that increases your moving accuracy, hipfire and aim. So if you kind of strafe side to side and you're running around running gun, it actually helps a lot. And then put a silencer on it, and that will help you stay off the mini-map. So when you reload between engagements, a lot of people won't know where you were, where the kill was, so it gives you that extra time just to get the reload done. And the second way is the one that I mentioned previously, and that's to put on the compensator to get rid of the side-to-side, and the angle foregrip as well to get rid of that first shot multiplier, and that'll kind of help you out in longer range engagements like medium. I wouldn't advise going long range, but yeah, it does help. If you need to take out targets at that range, you can do it. And while it's not bad by any means, it is beaten out in a lot of categories by the AEK and the FAMAS, so it's kind of pretty situational weapon. It comes down to what you want to play as. And I'd recommend also with the field upgrade, because it's such a high rate of fire weapon and you're going to be missing a couple of shots if you're trying to take out medium to long range targets, you want to go with offensive, because that way you get sprint, which is good for close quarters, and the second level of that is the ammo, so you'll get extra ammo for yourself, because you'll find yourself running out a lot of times as well. And that's pretty much it. I hope you find this slightly informative, and I'll be trying to get up all the second assault weapons fairly soon. Naval Strike is just around the corner, I think next Tuesday or Wednesday for us in Australia, and I'll try to get all the second assault ones done, and then when that comes out I'll be doing gun reviews on all of those as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.